Welcome to the Vet to Vet podcast. I'm your host, Bill Fitters. Join me as I talk to fellow veterans about their military experiences from Vietnam to Operation Enduring Freedom. This podcast is sponsored by Tugs, talking, understanding, growing, and supporting. Even big ships need a little help sometimes. Feel free to hit the subscribe button below to get our latest Vet to Vet interview. Feel free to like, share, and leave a comment below. And thanks for joining us. All right, we're sitting down with Army Specialist Cindy Jorenby. How are we doing today?
Pretty damn good. It's Friday.
That it is. So let's talk about life before entering the U.S. Army.
All right. Well, life before the Army entailed living in a small town of Hollandale. Well, in the country, I should say.
I think I know where that's at.
Grew up on a farm, milking the cows and going to school, and signed up my junior year for the delayed entry program. So I knew a year ahead of time I could prepare myself mentally for that big jump to go to basic training.
Yeah, but you were in good shape, though.
Oh, yeah. I was big into athletes, athletics. So running and all that stuff was not a problem. But the only thing that was a problem was when I actually went to to the MEP station, and right before I was supposed to take off, they're like, "Oh, you're not passing the weight." So let's measure you and weigh you. They ended up holding me for like 4 days in Milwaukee, and after somebody else did it on that fourth day, and they're like, "We've been screwing this up the whole time. You were good on day one," and I'm like. Here I'm living on like an apple a day. I'm not joking. One apple. I'm like, all right. And then, they're like, you could probably take something to help you drop some weights in other ways too. And I'm like, oh my God. So, I'm on the toilet eating an apple a day, trying to drop weight. I'm probably like ready to pass out from dehydration.
My diet would have been a lot better from when I was at MEPS. We had a guy that was of age. We filled the bathtub with ice and then put beer in there.
Oh, perfect.
Woke up to like 20 people just sleeping in our room, and the guy saying, "Hey, we got to catch a plane." Like everybody hung over. I didn't eat, so that would have been a good diet.
Well, it did prove, you meet a group of people there, you're hanging out with them, and we were like going shopping. We'd go to the stores or whatever. I did get proposed to be married.
Nice.
And the guy had already been divorced once, and he's like, yeah, it'd be really weird if we got married. And I'm just like, we just met yesterday. I'm like, there's a reason you're already, I guess, married and divorced. I'm like, nope, we're a little weird.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So where did we go to basic at since we took off out of Milwaukee?
Fort Jackson.
Okay.
South Carolina in July. So it was pretty
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very warm weather, lots of sand, lots of ants. But I loved basic training. Like, that was my favorite part of the whole military experience.
Really?
Yes. I was like looking forward to the challenge, and growing up on the farm, you work hard. You're used to getting bossed around. My dad was pretty strict, laying out the law. So I kind of thrived because I loved watching all the other girls bawling and crying, wanting to go home.
Yeah. I can understand that.
It's kind of sick and wrong, but yeah. And I always knew no matter what they had us doing, the drill sergeants, if we got in trouble for whatever, that it couldn't last forever.
Right.
It has to end eventually, and it always did.
And it goes by fast after it. Not every day is really slow, but in the end, it's like, my gosh, this time is flying. Mm-hmm. Do you guys do 10 weeks?
Yes, it was 10 weeks.
Yeah. So I know about them ants and fire ants are miserable.
Right. Actually, it's 12 weeks.
Yeah.
In the Army. I'm like, 10 weeks? That must be Air Force.
Yeah, that's Air Force.
Like, they did everything nice. And I'm like, okay, the Marines are 16. I'm like, we were 12.
We catch on a lot faster.
But the Air Force, they know what they're doing.
That's right.
They have the nicest bases. I figured that one out when I went to Germany.
We have it's all in our plan. When we deploy or anything like that, we set up our bar and our living quarters first, and then say we're out of money. we need to build a runway.
Oh, perfect.
So,
yeah, then they're like, oh, give them some money.
Yeah,
They need it.
Take care of the troops. They'll take care of the job. That's how it was all the time through the Air Force. I know the Marines. They got to get them from eating crayons to eating regular food and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That's bad.
So we go from basic training to where?
Then after basic training, I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for my counterintelligence training because they wouldn't let me be a military police officer because I was too short. Can you believe the insanity of that?
Yeah.
I don't think they have that rule anymore. It could be outlawed.
They couldn't put
Discrimination might have came into play.
They couldn't give you like how short?
I had to be 5'6". I was 5'3.5".
Oh yeah, you can't like put
And I'm
elevator
like,
shoes on for that.
yeah. I was like outraged, and they're like, well, let's see what other jobs you qualify for. So they pretty much asked me if I wanted to be in military intelligence. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. They're like, well, you can get to go to Germany too. And I'm like, oh yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
So that's where I went into my training in Fort Huachuca, Arizona I was there for a year and a half at least. They accelerated our training when we were there because of Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to get us through the program quick so they could ship us over there. And Desert Storm was over almost as quick as it started.
Yep.
But we were all like, ah. So it was good. I mean, it's the first time we got to go to Mexico, when you're in Fort Huachuca, you're by Sierra Vista, and we spent many weekends in the hotel rooms. As many people as we could fit, in a two-bed hotel room. The closets were full. The floors were full. Big parties in the room. No one ever got arrested, but my worst experience in Arizona was when the day we were leaving to go to our next, I think I was actually going home before I went to Germany. So we stayed in a hotel room the night before we were supposed to get chipped out, and I put all my stuff under a pillow so no one could steal it. I guess I thought someone was going to come in the night and steal all our stuff. Well, I left it there went back to the base. No IDs, nothing, no money. What a shit show. So I had to be on an airplane by a certain time, so I got like this temporary ID, and they're like, we'll look in the hotel and we'll ship it to you if we find it.
Did they find it?
Yes,
Sweet.
I got it. They sent it to my home.
Really?
I got it back on the farm, yep.
Oh,
It was crazy. I could not believe it. I was a miracle. I'm like, I can't believe how stupid I was. Because I'm sure there could have been alcohol involved.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Usually the hotel rooms and stuff were...
Yeah. So I remember just racing. That's the problem. We must have woke up late, and we're like, oh my God, we're going to get on a plane in like an hour and a half, and we're still in a hotel room.
You've been there.
Yeah. So then when I know I went home for like a month before I got shipped out to go to Germany.
That's nice. A
I
month.
know. Yeah.
I think they let me go home for a week. Yeah.
Well, of course I didn't stay home when I was home.
No.
I went and visited all these people I met in the military. I remember I drove to Bowling Green, Ohio to go visit some girl. I got in a huge snowstorm, and oh my God, I never stayed home. When you're home, you're going to see your friends.
Yeah.
But I was ready to go. It was exciting to go to, we went to Kaiserslautern in Germany.
Okay. That's a nice base.
Yes, it was very nice there. Very Americanized.
In Germany, in that part of Germany, a lot of it looks like Wisconsin.
I think Germany looks a lot like Wisconsin, like the climate,
Cleaner, though.
yes.
Yeah.
Just the scenery, the weather. It's very nice. I would love to go back to Germany. Especially, I loved Germany during Christmas.
Yeah.
Their little Christmas markets with the hot wine, and, well, there was lots of always plenty of alcohol, and I never got to go to the big beer fest, though.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, never got to go to that.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I liked the Autobahn and traveling around. I joined, I got recruited to be in the military, the Army softball team.
Okay.
So that was fun. I got to go travel to other countries to do that until my husband.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I met my boyfriend and I got to Germany. Let's see, I got there in February or March, and by July we were supposed to be, he was ready to be married.
Oh.
So, I was 18, 19.
Alone, yeah.
I think I just turned 19, in April. So, and he was 22. So it seems like a great idea in
Yeah,
another
yeah,
country.
always.
Parents were real proud.
Yes, yep. Yep.
Yep. So we got married in Germany.
Just for clarification, this isn't the same one that proposed on the first day he met you, is it?
No,
Oh, I thought
that
maybe-
was I left him back in Milwaukee. That was frightening. It wasn't
Maybe he
that bad.
stalked you along the way.
Yeah, he did
We've
look
known
like a
each other.
stalker. Oof, yeah. No, this was a guy who I took over his old job. He was an intelligence guy as well, and so I took over his desk, and then he went to like a different department on a different base in Launchstoel. So that's how we got to know each other. Plus, our barracks were in the same building. At that point, we're all congregated together, I think. Actually, no, we were still split up. The women and men were.
Really?
Yes. But it was funny because our staff sergeant, who was like in charge of our barracks, watching people go in and out and whatever, kind of like she was having the staff sergeant from the other barracks sneaking him into her room. It was so funny. We're like, what's going on? But yeah, so that's how I met my first husband over there in Germany, and got married in Germany. Then we had a plan. He was getting out like in 93 in July or something like that. So we went to Munich first. We transferred to Munich. And at first, when we lived in Kaiserslautern, we lived off base by Launchstoel, right by a castle.
Nice.
Which I thought was great. Everybody I wrote to him, like, living by a castle over here in Germany. I'm like, it's so cool over here. And we lived in this apartment. It used to be a mother-in-law's suite of this family. They were very nice, huge one-bedroom apartment. Right after we got married, we moved there. And it had like ivory steps going up to this apartment. So, I mean, I'm sure it spent all of our money that we got for, I'm sure we are tapped out to the max. I know if you knew my first husband, that's how he was.
Yeah?
Living large, even if he can't afford it.
I just had big bar tabs. That's all I had.
Well,
I didn't spend
him
much
and his
money
buddies,
besides that.
he had some buddies that they hung out with, and they did all their traveling like before I got there. So he was in Germany probably like a year before I got there, and the stories with him and his friends, and the women who were like ironing their uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Who were wives of the guys that are gone on TDY.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are dogs.
I can't remember what we called that when they were gone. When guys would go TDY and then their wives would show up at like the club, the NCO club or what have you. I can't remember. There was a term we had for that. I never partaked in any of that extramarital affair with somebody else.
Yeah, it didn't take long to see why marriages in the military did not last.
But
long.
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. And I think it's, like you were saying, you're young, you're in a foreign country, you're away from family, and the people you work with are cool and all that stuff, but they're not like your family or your close friends back home. I think a lot of military people get married when they get overseas.
I felt like it was kind of like a meat market.
Oh, yeah.
And I was the piece of meat walking in.
There was that.
Yeah, times have changed a lot, I think, maybe. But I remember going out to like the maintenance area, and those guys were like the hollering and catcalling, and good God, I'm like, oh, welcome.
They teach us that in basic.
Yes, they do.
On the male side of things. Yeah, in Spain it was like that too, or basically any base I went to. The males outnumbered them, so when a new female would come onto base or into the unit, what have you, it did not take long for for everybody to find out. And,
right. Who's going to get that one first?
The waters have
Yes,
been chummed.
exactly.
The sharks are circling.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. So it was good. I mean, from Launchstoel, I liked Launchstoel, but then we went to Munich, and I thought that was way more prettier. closer, to the Alps, and we could see the mountains where we were at. But we lived on base then, and that's when we started saving like a ton of money because we had like an end game of when we were going to get out, and had to be prepared for the civilian life. But I didn't really care for my job in the military. Should have known when I didn't get what I wanted, and they put me on something else. I mean, military intelligence, it was cool because you got to hear about cool stories of people trying to, mess with the U.S. and espionage. And we got to follow people. That was exciting, like in the cars, tailgating them. But, like, too many report writing about, what you saw. And, like, my ex-husband at the time, he was, like, interviewing people for security clearances. And he got to wear civilian clothes every day.
Oh, nice.
He got the badge. And so his seemed way cooler than my job. And I see why he left the job I was at.
He was like Mueller.
Yeah.
One of the guys. Yeah.
So, I didn't care for the job. So actually that's why I'm like basic training was the funnest because I enjoyed the spirited competition amongst the group and as a group of people competing against the other companies and such like that.
And you didn't feel like a piece of meat. And you know what I mean?
Right.
That does do a lot for the psyche.
Right, and if you don't like a job, it wears on you. And that's after I got my job and was doing it, sitting at a desk all the day. It was not my kind of job. I want to be more active and up and moving, and like I would go crazy sitting at a desk all day.
Being in the sports like you were in school, and then being on a farm, everything is outdoors. I can see that. That'd be a big change. Big change.
Yeah. So I was happy to actually, I got orders to go to Fort Carson, Colorado, when I was in I got pregnant. Just happened to happen. Suddenly. So, at that point, they're like, you want to if you do that then, I'm going to because my husband was getting out. So this is a way for me, and he didn't want me to stay in the military if he wasn't, because he didn't want to re-up. And so so I was like all gung-ho military. I loved it until I got that job. My ex, he was like the type, he'd tell me like, when they do the ruck marches, he'd be that last person in the back that'd be pissing you off, that'd be getting us all in trouble. And I'm like, are you that? Because I'm the one who'd be in the front. They would run back to drag those people up front. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how we got together.
Who are you?
Right. So then, we left and we came back to, the military experience, he enjoyed, because he was more in the civilian sector of his job, but I didn't really care for mine that much. So, but it was a great experience. I kind of wish everybody who's 18 or 19 has to go for like a year.
Yeah.
Because I think you just grow up so much, and it teaches you respect and, teamwork. And, this day and age, I think kids are a little selfish and spoiled. And
yeah, I think it makes people harder too, and also makes, like, for us coming from where we grew up, it just exposes you to so much diversity.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Other cultures, other knowing that there's other food out there. Friday night fish fry isn't just the thing. You can go to do all these other things, and you're talking about castles and going and walking through those, and just things that you might have heard about in history, but now you're walking through it.
I know.
Like you're talking about the Autobahns built for aircraft to land on during World War II. One of the good things that Hitler thought of. Just to be able to see it, touch it, drive.
It was cool to be able to travel, because I know it's something in Europe, you get a travel. I wish I could have done more, but he didn't want to do as much anymore because he did it all. Yeah. So it kind of sucked. That's why, like, when I was on that Army softball team, I'm like, this is awesome.
Where'd you guys go?
Netherlands. Oh gosh. Oh, we went to Paris, but that was with my husband. This is terrible. I can't think of this country. Austria.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We didn't go to Spain. What's another one with us? Maybe it was Spain. so long ago.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But it was so cool. It was so much fun. But then my husband didn't want me traveling away from him. He had
Right.
a little don't go to the grocery store without me because we're married
Oh.
problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't marry you so you could go alone. And he was worried about all the people I would meet on the road that could
So it sounds
potentially
like he was a little
be
insecure, maybe?
could potentially be prospects for me, I guess.
I mean, if you're getting proposals, at a
Yeah,
hotel,
no kidding.
In one night, yeah, maybe he had something to worry
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like I told you that one time, like, we ended up getting divorced, and I always wonder if our divorce from Germany is like if we're still married in Germany, because I know you were like, yeah, we got married in Spain.
Yeah.
But, the paperwork here says we are.
That's what's important.
Exactly. But I am happy about it was a great experience, even though it's unfortunate I didn't like the job, but it was still a great experience.
Couldn't you have transferred into something? Or
Well,
tried? Or not
well,
tried?
my husband did not want me to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that, remember?
Yeah.
He was running the show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was a very young, naive girl.
I
from
have
Holland.
never thought of you that way, ever.
Well, it's amazing.
Even knowing you when you were little, never. You always had a almost a dominant personality.
Ooh, I'm going to have to tell that to Steph.
I didn't say it.
So then, well...
Yeah, I did say it.
Yeah.
You've been competitive, always been a very strong-willed, independent, and intelligent individuals. And I've known you for years, so I find it hard that some guy was able to just say,
It's terrible.
I don't want you doing this. And you're going, really?
It's terrible. That's why I got out of Hollandale. I'm like, okay, being from a small town, I feel like we don't have a ton of resources to know what is possible for us.
Yeah.
So I thought my options were McDonald's, working.
We didn't have a
Marrying,
McDonald's.
I drive to Dodgeville.
Oh, yeah.
Working or marrying a farmer, which was my parents' aspiration for me, to marry a farmer and be in the farming business, or I was going to the military. So I had to get the hell out of there.
I thought everybody worked at Pizza Hut in Dodgeville.
Well, that could be too.
I thought that was the prime
That
job.
was the place to go.
It was.
But I got out of there, and it served its purpose. It really did, because it changed me. I brought home a husband, which I'm sure my parents weren't excited about. But they did think I was to bring home an African-American guy.
Oh.
And I think I probably dated many African-American guys just to piss them off, because, little did they know what was coming ahead of them.
You were just trying to loosen the blow.
Oh my God, anything that could piss them off, I swear I would do.
Are you still that way?
No, I don't really talk to my parents very much, so no, we don't have the best relationship,
Well,
because I think that mindset that they had even back then is kind of still here.
You still could get into farming.
No, thank you. I'll let my brother do that. He can handle it.
So you're not farming. Let's get into what
All right.
you're doing.
So I end up having 3 kids, and I'm working in a pharmacy, and my husband is selling insurance. My dad loves it. Perfect. Now I'm married to the insurance guy. Moved to Dodgeville. I'm working, I'm a pharmacy tech. First I'm a CNA, and so I get into healthcare pretty much, or into the medical type field, and working in healthcare, pharmacy, and then I'm like, end up getting divorced, and I'm like, I need to go to school. Even though I wanted to go to school before, because I had the GI Bill.
Right.
That could have paid for it all.
Mm-hmm.
Ex-husband's like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to go to school? You think you're going to make more money? I'm like, yep. Didn't go until I had 6 months left on my GI Bill after I got divorced. I said, I'm going to go to nursing school. Because I got 3 kids, and I want to be able to support them and not have to worry about child support, or having, that to deal with my ex-husband.
Right.
So went to nursing school, got 6 months of it paid for. 2006, I graduated.
Where'd you go?
Southwest Technical College in Fenimore.
Fenimore, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It was a place to go. Me and Steph went together. We
Did
went to
you
nursing
really?
school together. Hell yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah,
That's cool.
I had her come over. I'm like, can you help me set up a computer and a computer desk? She's like, oh yeah, sure, because I'm terrible with electronics and any type of technical setup. And I'm like, well, guess what? I think I'm gonna go to nursing school. It sounds like I need a good job. She goes, really? Well, I think I'm gonna go too. Then well, why not? So yeah, we ended up going to nursing school together. We were kind of living our lives parallel,
Yeah.
but separate all the time.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting.
But healthy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And you guys have always been.
We've always been friends. We were best
yeah.
friends in high school, and
Yeah.
then I left, and she got married, I got married, we had kids. We ended up getting divorced the same year. Well, I went and got divorced in
didn't know that.
2002, 2003 early. She got divorced, but I knew in 2002 she was getting divorced because
Okay.
we had an opportunity. It was a very small window of possibly getting together. It didn't work out, and it's probably for the best since we had 5 kids, all under age 7.
Oh my.
Yeah, it would have been rough, and neither of us had been to school in our careers, and so it's okay.
Do you think you guys would have finished your schooling or careers?
We would have had to do it separately,
Right.
and you first. Who's going first? Right.
It's
With
you,
5
sir.
kids,
Yeah.
and not making good money. I mean, that would have been a real big struggle, and it would have been a struggle. Plus, it was in early 2000s, so I think things still were developing, as in acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Dodgeville at the time, and she was still living down by Blanchardville.
Do you care about acceptance?
Well,
Back
I
then,
don't a lot.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not.
understand.
I mean, I am who I am, and people can like me or not like me. It's just like, so I have a great story about that.
How can people not like you?
Well, that's just it. I figure if I kind of like to get to know people, especially if I don't know them, and then if I give, it's my rule at work. I work at the Veterans Hospital. So I give the veterans, they usually like, what's your husband do? Usually I have a 3-husband rule. On the 3rd time they say, what's your husband do? Or I actually had a vet correct me the other day.
Really?
Because he says, what's your husband do? And I go, I actually have a wife who's a nurse. And he goes, you mean your husband? And I go, no, actually, I meant my wife. He's like, oh, beg your pardon. He goes, well, that's fine.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, that's my funny rule at the VA. But yeah, like there's a thing about acceptance that I like. It's nice to be accepted by people. But you always have to be smart too. That's why I tell staff, I'm like, people can act like they're accepting, but based on your surroundings, where you're at, it's different in different areas of this country.
Yeah.
So you have to be smart. You don't want to die. And we were talking about that earlier about there's a lot of hate going on, and there's a lot of disturbance in our country right now because people are upset, whether one reason or another, and you just got to be smart where you're at. And because we like to go places and travel, and so showing affection and being just a couple sometimes can be
Right.
difficult, and which
but
sucks.
I don't see you being that caring person as far as what others
Well, most
think.
time I like to have that cause and effect,
Right. Throw a little gas on the
yeah,
fire.
exactly.
And that's how I've known you. And
Yeah.
Steph has always been a very independent, strong woman as well. And I don't see her backing down from a challenge, just like I don't see you backing down from a challenge.
I'm so happy about who I am, and I'm proud of it. It's not like I'm flaunting it, or some
Right.
people I know, just from experience, just because I'm attracted to females, I think since you're a female, I'm going to want to sleep with you. No, don't,
Yeah.
or, same thing with, guys, if they are in relationships with men, they think, don't flatter yourself. Not
Right.
everybody wants you, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have morals too,
Yeah.
but yeah. So anyhow, me and Steph went to nursing school together. And then, I got in a relationship. She got into a relationship. I married a woman, and she ended up eventually, after a while, getting remarried and having a child. I had a child in the relationship I was in. And then, we're just living our lives. And I moved to Florida for 3 years and because my spouse at the time's family lived down there. So that was fun. I mean, it's different vacationing down there than it is living.
Yeah.
We built a house on the golf course, on the lake, gated community. Thought it was just great. I didn't. I felt so wasn't like I felt like I was in the Beverly Hillbillies show.
Yeah.
Because it was just so upscale, and that's so not me.
No.
Oh, it's terrible. So I was miserable down there. And plus, I felt like, based on my experience, because this is real deep, my spouse, my wife, transitioned into a man.
Okay.
And so that's one of the reasons we went down there, too, so we could be this, like, male-female couple, which that really threw people for a loop, because when I was in the hospital, I'm like, so I'm still gay, but my husband's at home. So that really got people like, what? They must have some kind of weird marriage.
Yeah.
But anyhow, ended up moving back here in 2016, and I had always worked at like the private sector hospital, St. Mary's Hospital in Madison, and I came back to that again when I got back here just because it was the easiest. But then eventually I'm like, it's everything that's coming from St. Louis, which isn't the best, because I think we have great health care in Madison, in Wisconsin.
I agree.
And that was changing at in the St. Mary's, so then I decided to venture out, and I left for like 9 months to work for like this Medicaid and Medicare program, which was a very eye-opening situation.
And not a good one.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much mental health. That's like a huge thing. It's sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. But then there's also the ones that know how to work the system to the T.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like this huge base of older people who need care, and they never usually ask for anything.
Yeah.
And then when they need something, it's like you got to take someone's arm off her leg, but then you got the person over on the side that knows how to work the system and can get anything they want, and that was very frustrating.
And don't deserve it.
Right, it was
Compared
very
to-
frustrating,
yeah.
and I had a certain amount of people I took care of, so it was very frustrating for me as a nurse, and actually as a human being, not to be able to help these people that obviously needed help, and the ones who didn't could get everything, so that was hard.
It's that way with veterans too, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I hear many stories from the veterans about how they are angry.
But there's some that get what they don't deserve, and then there's those that I shouldn't say deserve. They get more care than they should, where others don't get the care they need.
Yes.
I think Madison is one of the best ones, and I think a lot of that has to do with being attached to the UW.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
It's huge that we're attached to the UW just because of the transplant. I mean, we have people helicoptered or flown from like Nebraska over to us, looking for transplants.
and it does have one of the best PTSD clinics in that I know of. Just fantastic. They will challenge you, and they will do the best they can for you. Where a lot of places are like, "Oh, you don't want to be here? Leave." And I've never heard that about Madison.
It's amazing that since we have we have a hospital in Madison, and big veterans hospital attached to a huge, the UW hospital, that they don't recognize veterans though really around in the community as much.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in like the southern states, like when I was in Florida or, when you're in Texas, they have more military bases.
Right.
We have no military bases around here really, except, like National Guard,
Reservists.
your reserves in these little complexes in the malls, they meet so that's kind of sad, I think, because they just don't get that exposure. They don't get, some places offer discounts to veterans, but it's not like as widely available, or people would know about it if they didn't ask.
Right.
But it's really fun. So after I left that job, I went and got into the hospital in Madison, which was a act of God. And it took 3 months, and Stephanie almost like, she's like, this was the hardest situation to get into ever. Like the hardest place to get into, but I heard once you get into the hospital, like you're set. So I worked there since April. I went in right when COVID started going hardcore. So,
Yeah.
I haven't worked with anybody in my unit without mask. So that's very weird. And starting a new job with everyone wearing masks, it's really hard to get to know people's
You
names.
might not recognize them outside of work.
I know.
Yeah.
I probably won't. Thank God for Facebook because they,
So that's what you look like.
It's true. And then when people take their mask off at work, because you usually get this nasty film on your face from wearing a mask, and you're like, wipe it off. And now with more people getting shots, we're all like, oh, is this ever going to go away? Are we ever going to stop wearing masks? And probably not for a while, I'm guessing.
Fauci, last I heard, maybe spring 2022, maybe.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Maybe, yeah.
So, but going in during the COVID times was a little stressful. My training was like a day and a half.
Wow.
That was just for like the administrative part. So it was not very organized. And I can say that because Stephanie actually works at the VA now too. Mm-hmm. I work in the ICU. She works in the telephone triage. And her experience from getting the hire-on bonus was a snap. She didn't even have to fill out anything online, the USA Jobs, where I had this. Yeah. I had interviews for PACU, ICU, and ambulatory surgery. And I didn't get the PACU one, and then I did ambulatory surgery, got that job, but then I saw an ICU job pop up, and that's all my experiences in ICU. So I went and interviewed there. And then when I first started, they said, you got the job in ambulatory surgery. And then the guy calls and says, you got the job in ICU. And I'm like, well, where am I starting? I'll just do anything. Just get me in.
Right.
So I honestly didn't know which job I was starting
When
till the day before I went. And then I didn't really know my pay until that first day when I was there working. They're like, we're going to send you an offer or the email. Because they'd sent me one, but it was wrong and based on my status. So it was kind of a shit show, so to speak. But when Stephanie started, she started in December. Totally different, I guess, HR, and it took this revamp. And her training was she had a week or two. And so it's funny to hear the experiences, different experiences. So that's why I'm kind of laugh. But everybody who started at the time I did, they all had the same experience.
Yeah. So I'm going to let in on something. We, as American Legion here, we have a guy that works up there.
Oh, really?
He is. Let me rephrase that. He volunteers, and he hasn't been able to go back to work. They push people around.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what they're called. And he absolutely loves that job, and it has just been bothering him that he hasn't been able to go back to do that. He just absolutely loves it. And he does, I think he goes up there every Thursday. Every Thursday.
He still does now?
Well, they're not
Or
allowing
they're
him
not
back
allowing
yet.
him, okay.
But he is just like, well, I've been trying to get in, So you'll get to meet him
It's under
eventually.
tight quarters yet.
Yeah.
Checking us at the door, all of us.
Yeah.
The other day we walked into work, there were two of us. It's like change of shift. It's like 6:30, we're walking in. Same stuff, mask on, we come in, they check your temp. And, sometimes our badges are in our bags and he's like, what's your business here, ladies? And we're like, we're here to work. He's like, well, I need to see your IDs. I'm like, dang. I'm like, okay.
They ain't messing around.
He was a new guy that we didn't know. I was going to compliment him on his brewer shirt, but I'm like,
Right.
yeah, not anymore. But no, it's a good place to work. Very good place. Very different from the private sector. Very different. Very nice to take care of the veterans. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, with the veterans, the stories they have, mental health problems, drinking, drugs. Those are the things you see a lot more, it seems like, than you see them in the private sector, but unfortunately with the veterans, you see a lot more of that. But besides your normal surgeries and, there's lots of non-compliance. We have a lot of return offenders.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've only been there almost a year, and the people I've seen there over and over already, I'm like, oh. And sometimes for, the same problems, it's sad.
So I got a fight I need you to take up for me. They get rid of the smoking area outside the ER.
I think they did.
So mental health wise,
You need that.
we need that, because even when I had like,
I'll have to ask,
I was
because
in the
I bet they
ICU
don't have it
and all
now.
that stuff, I had to go around with oxygen and a monitor and what have you. I wheeled myself out. I'm a dedicated smoker, and
I got a story about that.
we would sit in there, and it's so healing to sit across from a guy from World War II, and he tells you about his health struggles and where he's at mentally now. And then the PTS guys are right across the parking lot, so they come in. And then you got the Vietnam guys in there, and it's because we all went through basic. We all understand each other's struggle early on in military. That it's just an instant bonding thing. That health-wise, it was so uplifting. Yeah, I'm killing myself with a cigarette.
Right.
I get that, but that camaraderie. Hey man,
Just from the smoking
can
cigarettes,
I borrow
yeah.
one from you? Or
Gets a conversation
yeah,
going.
or anybody got a lighter? And you don't look at them and go, well, you probably shouldn't smoke. You look at them and go, dude, you
Well,
were
I'm
in
guessing
Normandy.
right now.
I'll let you have
yeah.
a smoke.
I'm guessing right now that they don't have that open just because of COVID, because we're still under pretty strict COVID restrictions. So, we only have visitors for people who are like end of life or well, it's only usually end of life that we have visitors. Like we had someone come up the other night because they thought they were going to pass away, and it's a limited amount of time, but it's hard to regulate that if you're busy, and they ended up staying for several hours, probably more than they should have. But it's really hard to tell people to leave when they know their loved one's going to pass away. And for the longest time, we wouldn't allow anybody in with the COVID. It's just starting to lighten up because the numbers are down, and we've had COVID deaths. Obviously, it's slowing down. It seems like, which is great. I haven't had to work in the COVID side for probably 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, which is nice. But
Yeah.
I am vaccinated, thank God. So that's just like a sense of security and a sense of relief, I think, for a lot of staff. A lot of staff. Quite a few nurses got it. Some of them, didn't have a symptom, and some of them said they were, so sick and down and out. But I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I hope so.
It seems like it's shifting. That's what I'm thinking. We still have some sick patients, and we had some patients leave that, they get off the ventilator and you wouldn't think they were going to make it. And we actually had somebody recently which I took care of him a lot, and that was a big thing that he made it.
That's a nice feeling, though.
It was, yeah, it is. And it's like I took care of this guy 5 nights in a row just this last time when I worked, and the relationship he built with the patients.
Yeah.
And I was only supposed to work 4 nights in a row, and he was a very sick patient, bad heart, and he had some medical devices that was helping assist his heart. And but you get to know them. He wasn't venting or nothing. He was talking, and he was so funny. He's like the younger nurses. He knew the younger nurses. You could tell, the younger nurses would come in, he'd be kind of flirty, and then I would give him a hard time, like, what? You call me old? And he's like, no. He's like, but he was, I don't know, he was calmer. He seemed calmer with me, or that it was just my demeanor. But when you spend that much time with somebody, and it was so funny, at 1 o'clock in the morning, he's like, we haven't talked much yet today, Cindy. He's like, what'd you do today? What'd you and Steph do? Because he knew me and Steph were together, and he was just like, hey, okay, and we were talking, and he was so funny. And he's like, they're going to be short tonight. I heard they're asking for help. He goes, are you going to work tonight? And I'm like, well, if they need help, I'm going to come in probably. So sure enough, I ended up coming in extra. He's like, I'm so glad you're here. Because I knew what he liked, and he'd be grumpy about, don't take those blankets off me, I'm freezing. I'm like, you think this is my first night here with you? My God. I'm like, he was so funny. And then when he knew my shift was over, and he's like, are you going to come back tonight? They need help? And I'm like, no. I go, this is be my 6th night. And I go, if you're here when I come back, I might not say I want you, because you're going to be ornery as hell, because you're going to be pissed you're still here. But he's like, well, make sure you take my number. And I go, I can't take your number. He goes, well, you can look me up, in so-and-so town. And he goes, I got some, we were talking about UTVs and 4-wheeling, because I'm like, I'm in the market.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all those stories, and he's like, well, I might have one to sell. And I'm like, I cannot take your phone number. He goes, well, I'm easy to find. I'm like, gotcha. But it's so fun taking care of them because they have a different sense of, a lot of them are not, they don't have entitled, they're just thankful.
Yeah.
They're just thankful to have the care, and
Absolutely.
you know, a lot of them will tell you, like, I get this much, so-and-so, my brother gets this in the military, and it pisses me off because I don't know how he gets, you know, the 10% rule or whatever, and I'm like just listening, and he goes, do you have benefits here? And I go, actually, I don't, unless I'm like incapacitated and bedridden. And he's like, well, that sucks. And so, I mean, it's fun to talk with them. I think they're surprised a lot
You
when
can sign up for them, though.
I tried.
Really?
Yes, I don't qualify.
See, I got it like a backup, but I use it as my primary.
No, I can't.
Really?
Yes.
I make too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I would have signed up long time ago,
Then you would have got
I
her.
screwed myself,
Yeah.
which I'm pissed about.
You
Cause
remember Bob Wheeler?
yes,
So I had got like really, really sick. And it was the swine flu. And I was fighting it for a long time. And he said something to my wife, you got to sign him up for VA just in case. I'm like, Bob, I'm not as sick as you are, for Christ's sakes. She did it online, what have you, and then ended up having to go in about 2-3 weeks later because I was like jaundice. And
Oh, geez.
I'm kind of real stubborn about stuff like
I
that.
can't imagine. You're a
And
man.
my wife's like, we're going. I'm like, all right. Her and my sister Betsy, we're going to do like an intervention.
Oh, yeah.
We're going for a ride.
Yeah. Let's go. You want to ride with us?
Yeah. So we rolled up there, and the nurse that came out to help said, yeah, thanks for calling in advance. I'm like, who the hell's calling in advance? My wife. And said, he was just accepted today.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in
That's
there
cool.
for 2 weeks. I was on not a breathing machine, but yeah, I had to do all these breathing.
Lung test.
This little thing, you go, and the ball goes.
Yep. Blow. I'm like, blow, 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 blow. Suck, 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 suck. That's what we say.
And I'm like, God, I hate these people. You know. And then I had to walk for a week. I wasn't supposed to walk. For the next week, I could go down this part. And the next day, I could go, and before they would release me, I had to be able to do
The whole thing.
down the hall, up the hall. And on my walks of struggling, I had a
Wow.
walker, I think it was.
Jeez.
I ran across Patty Burkett.
No way.
I'm like, you work here? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I guess you're seeing me at my worst.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, it was kind of neat.
Well, I would expect from you, like, they hire anybody around here, don't they?
Well, as sick as I was, I wasn't going to insult anybody.
Unless you knew they were giving your medicine.
Right. Let's just kink his air hose a little bit. No, it was, so Bob got me into the system by saying that. And thank God he did. I could not imagine what of a bill we would have got for that, you know.
I wish I would have signed up. I guess once I got my nursing job and I had my own personal insurance, I never even came to me. And like my ex-husband, he's like, oh, you should sign up. I'm part of it. And I get all my care for free. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then he's like, got this hearing loss and like a 10% or something. He tells me all these benefits he gets. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to sign up then. And he's making way more money than I am selling used cars. And here he gets all these benefits. And he just had a surgery this week, and which went well, which I'm glad. But I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's there, I guess. I can reapply if my circumstances would change in some manner.
Which you should. If it changes.
I mean, they have all my information, so, and obviously I work in the VA system now, so that's one thing I've heard, that once you're in the VA hospital system, and if you are a veteran, you have to really screw up. I'm like, well, this kind of reminds me of the basic training days. No, it's a great place to work for. I'm really happy so far. Every job has its same type of people, same kind of dynamics, but because it's a smaller hospital, it can be a little soap opera dramatic, but
Yeah.
I love working in the ICU. That's like my thing. It's not as crazy as, say, St. Mary's or maybe the TLC is over at UW, but it's got all sorts of variety. So
I think TLC is pretty good there because when my mom was on the UW side of things,
right, I mean they're great over
They
there.
are.
It's just
They
the patient like. At the ICU and at the VA, it sounds like a lot of their super critical patients stay in the UW TLC, and then after they're stable, then they come over to the VA ICU.
yeah,
Like, for instance, the transplants, the veteran transplants, they stay over there for like a week, and then they come to the ICU where we're at to finish out their ICU stay.
you get over there to see Brenda Larson at all?
No, I have not.
No?
I know she works over there,
Yeah.
and there's quite a few people. I know a lot of nurses who left St. Mary's that went to the UW. Somebody went and visited me the other night. They came over the night shift. But yeah, there's a lot of nurses.
I know my way between the two very well. 'Cause I know where the good coffee is, and down in the basement, there's a cafeteria down there. I don't know if it's like right underneath the elevators.
It's the coffee shop there?
The coffee, donuts,
And then
stuff
the
there.
doors to the UW are right there.
Well, it's down in the basement, but yeah.
Oh, basement. Yeah, the bottom floor, right? Unless you've been in the depths of hell
I
down
have.
there. The bowels of the building.
Because one place sells coffee, and then there's another place that sells like muffins and donuts and
Okay.
stuff like that. Have you been to that place yet? Maybe they moved it. Because behind there, for years, used to be where we did autopsies in law
Oh.
enforcement. So I
have been to the morgue.
it might be down there. But the autopsy rooms were like a dungeon, almost like a cellar from like a castle. It was like stone,
Weird.
and then you turn into one room. There was no door. It was just a arch type thing. You walk in there, and it was like medieval looking, set up, and you're just like, this is eerie enough that I'm doing this. Now add the atmosphere of wow, yeah.
That sounds scary.
So when I was being treated up there, I'm like, you guys start taking me down there, I'll know where I'm going.
Right.
So-
Something's wrong.
and they're like, what? And I'm like, I know what's down there behind that cafeteria. And they're like, what? And I said, that's where the autopsies are done. They're like,
That is so weird.
We
That's
don't know
behind
that.
the cafeteria.
yeah.
So gross. Kind of gross.
So then I'm like, I don't know if I want one of them muffins or not.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah. And there are a lot of civilians. They were all civilians that I went and did autopsies there with doctors and stuff. And it was weird. Because the elevator they had was all padded. And I always asked, because it was Dr. Michael, he's from the UW. I can't remember his last name. I always asked him, why is it padded in that elevator? And he's got a sick sense of humor like most cops do too. And he's like, it's because if they twitch or move, you're going to want to have padding when you're trying to get out of here.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I'm not kidding you, man. That padding is just so eerie.
Wow.
Because it's before they're involved and stuff like that. So every once in a while, somebody twitch, you'd be like, all right,
That would be scary.
Yeah.
The
So
morgue
anyway,
is scary enough.
yeah. So what do you think of the morgue?
It's small,
Yeah.
so it's hard. It's hard to fit a bed, a cart down in there, because when you're taking someone down there. But the final salute thing we do is really cool.
Yeah,
If
I've
someone
seen
passes
that.
away,
That's
you
neat.
know, we have the bugle playing, and now we offer, to FaceTime the family so they can watch it if they want to. It's more complicated if they pass away of COVID. There's just so much more ways we have to try to protect it, because your body's supposed to shed the virus like 10 times more once you pass away.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
So
that.
like it's really weird, some of the things we have to do to, after someone passes away, like with the cleaning and, not allowing many people in the room, and no one can be in the room, like family-wise. If someone were to pass, we don't like that. But if they do, they have to wear PPE, full garb. But
That's
like I
gotta be
said,
hard.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard when there's no, like, I can't imagine having family that's sick Like, that was like a huge fear, like during this whole COVID, like somebody has to go to the hospital and they have to stay in the hospital and you can't visit them. So they're by themselves, and that was a huge factor for like people, not just the vets, for everybody. Like you can't, they're stuck in this room for weeks. They get no visitors. Their only time with family is on a screen. There's the only touch they get is from the staff. And we're not family, but we try the best we can to comfort them and encourage them and keep them going, because a lot of them lose hope. And depends on what they're there for. It's not even if it's COVID, it's just anything. They can't see people, and that's so different.
Yeah.
So different. I kind of enjoy less traffic at night with family. That's why I work night shifts, because there's just less people around and so on and so forth. But I can't imagine that, having someone in the hospital or someone who's really sick and you can't see them. That'd be
tough.
Hard.
I told you about getting into the king's castle, and not into his castle, but onto the grounds. My wife's in the VA. I'm going to visit her. Just let you know if you're working nights and you hear.
Well, we've had to have security take people out, with no lie. We've had people try to come through, or we've had people say, "Can you just take my loved one downstairs?" And I'll be outside and waving. We've actually had people call family and say, "I'm going to be up on the parking ramp." And they held flowers and balloons, and they could look out their window and see the family. That was really cool.
Yeah.
People get creative, to make themselves seen. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But challenging times.
And just over that is where MedFlight lands.
Yeah. We have the patient I was taking care of the other night. He, every time the helicopter came in, he's like, "God, they're busy over there tonight."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yep." I go, "That can happen. It just depends on the night. And if there's a snowstorm, if there's lots of shoveling, if the traffic's bad, there's car accidents." But some of them get entertained by that. I mean, you're looking for anything you can get, because they get sick of watching TV.
Yeah.
The medical machines, the alarms on, everybody gets alarm fatigue. Or some of them are super hypersensitive and watching everything, which is pretty normal for a lot of human beings.
Yeah. You get that cage.
Because what else can you, the cage feeling.
Yeah. And you start to get a little overreactive, but you pick up on every little change. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. So is there anything else you want to add?
No. I just think, let's see. If you have, I don't know how it seems like the military, it seems like they say it's slowed down since COVID, like the recruitment. But I have to say, like the military, that was like one of the best decisions I made in my life. It changed my entire path.
Besides meeting stuff.
Yes, came back to her. Yeah, besides meeting Steph. I mean, I left her then, but that's what she says.
Oh, that guilt.
Even though she was still in high school.
Steph.
It all worked out at the end. There was a grand plan of scheme of things, so we always kept in contact, and it all worked out at the end.
Letter writing back then.
Yes, letter writing, lots of letter writing. But her mother was not happy with me, so everything was very limited.
You got something against parents?
No. I brought Stephanie home, maybe intoxicated a little too much one time, and that's all it took.
Oh yeah. That's the way it happens.
And when you're younger, and I'm the older, more mature one, that was a bad idea. Then I just happened to wreck my car on the way home.
Oh yeah.
So shoved a few teeth up under my nose. And it was the day before homecoming, so you can imagine the rumors. My flight was called. I was in the hospital. I rolled my car. I was over the hill, because it was over between Hollandale and Blancheville going, where Atwoods used to live? Right there. I hit the culvert going into, the driveway there.
Yeah.
Better than going off that other way to the right.
Right. That's kind of steep.
And then I walked home and went to bed. Left my car there. Next morning, Dad wakes me up to go milk. What the hell happened to your face? Just bruised, teeth missing, blood, bright blood. I'm like, we need to go pick up my car. It's over by Atwood's driveway.
You guys just lived up.
Yeah, up on the Norton farm.
Yeah.
Yep. Good times.
Grab the tractor and go get her, huh?
Pretty much.
Did you have a date for homecoming?
Actually, I had a jersey I was wearing. It was Brian Jeremiason's, who was in Stephanie's class.
Okay.
So had some blood on it, but I got it all out. But there was so many rumors after that. So I'm sure, like, it just seemed to be this huge, it's a small community. So
Yeah.
rumors went wild. Screwed up my whole basketball situation and my athletics since I had been drinking. And
Yes, that'll
my
do
dad
it.
got all crazy on Strowman, but it didn't work. Saying, you think she's the only one in this town that drinks? But
No, but
live
she's the
and
only one
learn.
that got caught.
Exactly. So it's all good. It all ended up fine. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm in a great part of my life.
I would agree.
I am.
Good
I'm
job,
so happy.
good relationship.
Yeah.
Good person
Yes.
that you're in a relationship with.
Yes.
Got good kids.
Lots of kids, 7
Yeah.
kids to keep us busy
Yeah.
between us. So that's exciting. We just became grandparents.
I was getting there.
Yay.
How do you like that?
Oh my gosh. I wish I could see him more often.
Yeah.
I just saw him yesterday briefly. Wasn't long enough, but she lives 50 minutes away, so.
So how do you like that grandma?
Oh, I
tag?
love it. But I'm Mimi.
Mimi.
Steph
All
is
right.
Gigi.
Okay.
My mother is grandma. Maybe eventually as I get older and more of these gray hairs, I let them
Yeah.
settle.
It-
But I love it. I keep asking my daughter already, just drop them off. And she's like, I'm not ready for that yet, mother.
Yeah.
But it's very cool. Different than having your own kids, that's for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we're still raising kids. We still have a 5-year-old and 11-year-old at the house. So our time is still not over.
No.
We're like, will it ever be?
we enjoy empty nesters. being
Yeah.
empty
I mean, I
nesters.
look forward to that. They're
Yeah.
fun.
And you and Steph will re-find each other again in a
Oh
way
my
that
gosh. Yeah.
it'd be like almost like high school in regards to you got that freedom to do whatever you want with your
Our time.
your spouse, and you can just live it.
I know.
know.
I love that. I love we have free weekends occasionally. And
Nice.
it's just so nice. And we always try to take a vacation a year together last year we didn't because of stupid COVID, but
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like that's important. And we know that.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a big family and they all get along, which is great.
Excellent.
They're fun.
Otherwise, you'd have to get a taser
Oh my gosh.
or
Well,
cattle shocker.
It's easier when they're younger, I think, because when they're adults, you have adult problems. It could be jail, could be drugs. I mean, it could be someone's pregnant, doesn't want to be. I mean, but you could have that in high school too. But adult issues. When they're younger, usually
You guys will get there.
Oh, I know. It's a lot. They keep us busy.
Yeah.
Somebody's always got a problem out of 7 kids. Somebody.
That-
Boys are easier.
One of them is in hockey, right?
Yep. Isaac's in hockey. Xander's in soccer. He's more of a brainiac. Isaac's sporty. And then the other kids all have jobs and insurance. And one's married. And so they all doing good.
The hockey's a traveling full-time thing almost.
It's a lot of money. Yeah,
It
we already
is.
went to Milwaukee one night for that already. I'm like, he's 5. We're going to Milwaukee to the Olympic Sports Training Center.
Yeah.
It's just for the experience, she said. But we already stayed overnight in a hotel and happened to be a big snowstorm that next day.
So have you got all your hours in volunteering at the concession stand?
No, not yet, because they haven't had any concession
Oh,
stands, so
yeah.
we've lucked out.
That was our thing in
Mm-hmm.
Janesville, and it was like, it was so rough.
And Isaac's dad, he's a teacher in Janesville, so they go to the hockey rink in Janesville a lot. So, and he was a coach. Well, he still is a coach, and he was like this huge hockey star back in the day
Ah,
in Janesville.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna continue to stick. And
Oh,
unfortunately, that's what I tell them. I don't think it's gonna stop. So that's good. It'll keep us young.
It will.
Plus, I heard some of those hotel gatherings where all the parents get together can
Are
be fun.
Are
Yes,
fun.
I've heard that. So we'll see.
Have wine, will travel is what I've been told.
Right. So-
All the kids go to the pool.
Yeah, well, the pool's not open even. We called ahead of time. We're like, it's
that's
closed. We're like,
true.
are you kidding? This is what kids live for, going to hotels.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to summer. We got our pool.
That's a lot of work too.
It is, but it's fun for the kids. And we figure they're young enough where we can get plenty of use out of it. It'll pay for itself. We got a hot tub.
Yeah,
for ourselves.
That use too. I mean, you two both are in very stressful occupations.
Yes. Very. Yeah. Hers is very, like, you would think, oh, it's telephone triage, but she deals with high stress situations, with the vets calling in and crises. It's not just, oh, I have a sore throat or, because they take all calls and they have some very intense talking people off the ledge situations.
Yeah, no, those are tough.
So I'm like, wow. I mean, that's mentally. She's exhausted when she gets home. Mine's more staying awake.
But she's got you.
Yeah, mine's more staying awake and working night shifts and not sleeping a lot sometimes, which I know it's a trick of the trade from years of happening. And she can't do that. She knows she can't go without sleep. I'm much better at that, and she does the day shifts, but her body can't handle the intense nursing like she would like to because of her back, unfortunately, but she's challenging herself in other ways, and I think this is a good place to be because even if she's not happy with the job, or even I could transfer to another spot in the VA.
Right.
And that's not uncommon for nurses on.
Well, I wish you both the best.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll continue to stay in touch.
We will, because we're going to come down to Orfordville and check this joint out, because I told her how sweet it is here.
And you are more than welcome.
Thank you.
All righty. For the rest of you veterans out there, keep your head up and moving forward. Ooh.